a general consensus that Nigeria has had a rocky road to lasting democracy. Nigeria gained its independence from the British government on October 1st, 1960. The time between the date and January 1966 is loosely referred to as the First Republic, though the country actually became a republic on the 1st of October 1963. On the show today, we look at Nigeria's electoral processes from the time leading up to the independence, the advantages and pitfalls, with a view to finding the best possible mix for the Nigerian state. Welcome to The Big Story. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. Three major parties emerged for the elections in 1959, which ushered Nigeria into independence. The National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, the Action Group, AG, and the Northern People's Congress, NPC. Several minor parties were also formed, such as the United Middle Belt Group and Northern Elements Progressive Union. They seemed to be getting on fine until the military coup of 1966. Military regimes continued with coups and counter-coups. These set the country back until the start of the Second Republic in 1979. The Supreme Military Council was formally dissolved when General Olusegun Obasanjo handed power over to the elected Shehu Shagari, ending the military regime and establishing a Second Republic.
The British brought the parliamentary system. That is first past the post system, we call it. That is, whoever in a state win the majority of the votes will become the governor. At the national level, whoever wins the majority of the votes will become the next prime minister under the Westminster system, or we call it first past the post system. That was changed in 1979 when we moved over to the presidential system. With the presidential system, we now put a device that a person who wants to be president of Federal Republic of Nigeria must at least win in 2/3 or 12 2/3 of the 19 states then. But we now have 36 states. He is supposed to win in majority of the states and then win 25% in, in generality, just to, have geographical representation.
The Second Republic was short-lived. A coup disrupted life as people had started knowing it in 1983. In 1993, the National Electoral Commission midwifed Nigeria's return to democratic rule using the option A4 or open ballot system, where voters openly queued behind the candidate of their choice. This method was adopted in order to minimize rigging. That election was widely deemed at the time to be the freest and fairest in the nation's political history, but there were pitfalls.
Before the election, they would have done series of meetings in the nights. They would have mobilized money, funds for their supporters in various areas or local governments. Then on the day of election, if they note that they are not winning in a particular area, they will send in the thugs with guns and cutlasses to go and snatch the ballot box. They will carry it somewhere, load it, and settle INEC officials or electoral officials and security officials to make sure they smuggled the stuffed ballot boxes into the counting centers.
Some of these problems have not been totally surmounted in the current dispensation, where biometric methods have been introduced. Edo State is a case in point, where the PDP claims their candidate should be the governor of the state. It's another session for the Edo Election Petition Tribunals, sitting in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Lawyers for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and its governorship candidate, Pastor Osage Izeyamu, prepared to file an ex parte motion for substituted service on the respondent, Godwin Obaseki, and the All Progressives Congress, APC. They got answers to their prayers as the tribunal led by Justice A. Bademosi granted the application. Speaking after the ruling, counsel to the accused, Kingsley Obamugi, says the decision is a step in the right direction.
If you go there now, it is under lock and key. It's been chained. There is even no security man present in the secretariat. And so we couldn't serve them at the secretariat. And the only option left to us was to come to the tribunal to obtain an order that we serve them by pasting notice of the petition on the gate of the party secretariat. And that we intend to carry out today. It's in accordance with the order of the tribunal. And if they enter appearance, we will serve them through their counsel. If they don't, we execute the order of the tribunal and proceed with the petition.
The PDP spokesperson, Chris Nehihari, claims that the APC wants to stall the judiciary process.
We are determined to have the stolen mandate returned and Pastor Zemo sworn in as governor. It may take time, it may take 6 months, 7 months, but the truth is the mandate will be returned and the Edo people will get the governor they voted for.
Following the court order, the substituted service is carried out as notices are seen pasted on the gate of the APC secretariat along Airport Road, Benin City. The publicity secretary of the APC dismisses the claims of the PDP.
We are ready as a party to get all the processes because we believe that we can defend our case. And therefore, I still don't believe that the reason for the closure of the secretariat is as a result of attempt to evade service.
The Edo Election Petition Tribunal will continue to be in the spotlight as it decides the fate of the September 28, 2016 governorship election in Edo State. Interested political parties and their lawyers are seated early in court for the pre-hearings of the petitions which followed the conduct of the Edo 2016 governorship election. Counsel to the petitioners, Pastor Izeyamu and the People's Democratic Party, and those of the respondents, the All Progressives Congress, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and Governor Godwin Obaseki, argued on whether the tribunal could go on with the petitions and hear the pending applications side by side, among other issues. The tribunal then adjourned to December 7, 2016, to enable the petitioners to file and serve their application, and also to allow the respondents time to react. The lawyers to the petitioners and the respondent commend the decision of the tribunal.
We're just asking the tribunal to intervene to see that the order that had been given for inspection of documents is carried out without any hazards. That's all. And the tribunal was gracious to reaffirm its pending order.
They have 7 days within which to respond. On our part, we have 3 days within which to file, reply to their response if need be. If need be. Doesn't really mean that for every response from them we have to file a reply. But if there are a contact point of law to be responded to, we have to.
Meanwhile, the peace within the court premises was temporarily disturbed with this scenario around the location, said to have resulted from a clash between the supporters of the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party.
Nigerian police are not like what they do. The police stand at the breakfast here, they not talk anything. Police just they look, not talk anything. A human being with you.
The call on political parties and their supporters is that they remain peaceful and law-abiding to avoid a recurrence of incidents such as this. In Ondo State, authorities made efforts to avoid unpleasant occurrences in the days leading up to their governorship election. It's a meeting convened by the police with various political parties in attendance ahead of the governorship election in Ondo State.
We have decided to bring all the leaders of the political parties together for an accord meeting to sign a peace pact that they will ensure they conduct themselves and also inform their supporters to conduct themselves peacefully in this state before, during, and after the elections.
The parties are given a peace bond, which they all sign. Some of the candidates and party leaders promised to be peaceful and to maintain law and order during the voting exercise.
It is good to have this as a symbolic way of getting the parties to agree to keep peace. But as we have said, beyond the symbolic aspect of it, the different agencies, the police, the INEC, must actually put in a structure which can withstand violent actions and activities, put up a structure which can withstand acts of criminal behavior from party supporters and party agents.
We cherish peace and we are working hard to sustain this peace. We are appealing to others to play the game according to the rules so as to sustain the existing peace in Ondo State.
15 out of 28 political parties participating in the 2016 Ondo State governorship election are present at the signing of the Peace Pact. But it appeared the agreement was not worth the paper it was signed on, as there were skirmishes between the members of rival political parties. Akure, the Ondo State capital, seems calm, with everyone going about their normal business. It's the eve of the Ondo governorship election. Schools are shut. Some major public institutions have their gates locked. It's because the state government declared a work-free day for the people of the state to prepare for Saturday, the election day. Peace in some parts of the state may be intact, but in Owo, in the North Senatorial District of the state, serenity may have been punctured. On the evening of Thursday, a clash between two political parties left sadness, sorrow, and bloodletting in its wake. Violence erupted, and the police say they are still looking into the matter.
We are on ground, and we have deployed all our men, and that type of thing will not happen.
Citizens try to hurry to do last-minute business. Banking activities and long queues at the ATM machines are clear indications. Voters don't appear disturbed by the incidents. Voting for some of them is important.
I just advise people that there's not even bother what happens, that maybe we not exist to come out and vote.
Some politicians have their fears as to the delivery of free, fair and credible polls. Some are even anxious about who the returning officer will be. But INEC believes it should be trusted on that. People complain that there are still loose ends in the political process.
Areas like logistics, where information and movement of electoral materials should get to the venues on time. They should be well guarded. The area should be well mapped, and at least there should be high level of sensitivity and security so that people can come out peacefully and vote. Like I didn't vote because I had issues with security in my area.
So the fact that you have to vote where you register is actually cumbersome. You should be able to vote wherever you want.
Maybe in their voting system, they should provide more machines. Like I had someone said he stood on the voting ground for 2 hours.
Political analysts believe the electoral process has been improving and is at its best at the moment, especially with the introduction of the card reader by then newly christened Independent National Electoral Commission, and opening up of the political space for the registration of several parties.
The practice before now was that you carry out the accreditation in the morning, and then voting will start about 12:30 or 1 p.m. later in the day. But now, as soon as you get accredited, you also go ahead and vote. This saves a lot of time for the voters and also for the election officials. And it also removes the issue of suspicion that probably something could happen much later in the day.
With the introduction of card readers, you now hear 1.2 million voters, like the case of Ondo, but 600,000 actual voters. In Edo, about 1.9 million registered voters, 800,000 actual voters. So all of these are the beauty of our electoral process.